Well, I'm live in the central business district of Hong Kong, which is absolutely packed with tens of thousands of pro-democracy demonstrators at 2:30 in the morning. This place would normally be completely deserted. Now, they call this the umbrella revolution because umbrellas have been used in the past against the police tear gas. Well, tonight, as you can see, the heavens have opened and the umbrellas are being used for a rather more mundane reason. Now, why are these people here? They are here because they're demanding that Beijing lives up to its promise of granting full universal suffrage to the people of Hong Kong in the election of their own leader, the chief executive of this territory. So far, Beijing has not done that. These people are fed up, and that's why they've been here for many weeks in ever-increasing numbers and refuse to go away. I lived in this territory during the handover of 1997. I have never seen anything like this before. Let's start tonight with our Asia correspondent, John Sparks.
The call went out, stay to the last moment, and protesters roared their approval. On day 3 of the Hong Kong occupation, the protesters were digging in, and their leaders said they wouldn't leave until the head of Hong Kong's government steps down. How long are you prepared to protest?
Forever.
They're young, surprisingly young in fact, but they are deadly serious. Tens of thousands ready to take on their own government and their ultimate rulers, the Chinese state.
Stepping into the limelight, the leaders of this extraordinary campaign. And they are, for the most part, youngsters, like 17-year-old Agnes Chow here. But make no mistake, they represent the biggest political challenge for China since Tiananmen Square. Stay here, don't give up, she said. We've come not to protect the students, but make Hong Kong a real, just and democratic society. An unlikely leader, she's got a new name. In an echo of the 1989 crackdown, demonstrators have dubbed her the goddess of democracy.
I think I will not admit this kind of nickname because I don't think that I'm a goddess. I think the emphasis of Hong Kong people should be the whole movement and the response of the government, but not an individual person.
Still, these impassioned student leaders who want Western-style democracy have met an immovable force. Hong Kong's chief executive, C.Y. Leung, today said China simply won't sanction open elections in the territory. As the night progressed, the lights came out, but the protesters weren't celebrating China's National Day. Many of tomorrow's events are cancelled. It's something of a humiliation for the Chinese, and many wonder what they'll do next. Rumours are rife of an armed intervention, but the protesters don't seem to care. What about China's National Day tomorrow? Will you be celebrating?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Yeah. I don't feel I'm Chinese because I feel I'm Hong Kong people. I'm not Chinese. Because that's a national day. In my opinion, I'm a Hong Kong people.
The first party to crack in this intractable contest was the weather. But the protesters seem to enjoy it. Their umbrella revolution continues apace.
Okay.
There's a Chinese saying, after a thunderstorm, the wrongdoers are punished. And the protesters think nature's on their side.
The streets of Hong Kong, which are really quite memorable, because remember, this is the financial district. We are surrounded by the glass, marble and neon corporate spires that have made this place so wealthy, so famous and so cherished by Beijing. But if you're living in China, you're not watching this on television, you're not hearing about this on social media, because the Chinese government is so scared that the contagion of freedom will spread from here across the border that they're basically blocked as much as they can. One of the people they're particularly scared of is a 17-year-old student called Joshua Wong, who started as a political activist when he was just 12. I met him earlier today.
He may not be old enough to drink or drive, let alone vote, but this 17-year-old is causing Beijing sleepless nights, and you can see why. The crowd, many of them quite a bit older than him, is glued to his every word. He is one of the principal leaders of this movement, and he's just come out of jail after being briefly arrested as a troublemaker. Beijing has branded him a dangerous extremist. All 8 stone of him. I spoke to Joshua earlier this evening.
Every citizen in Hong Kong, no matter they have different background, education level or salary or occupation, they can still get the equal right in the political system.
So the people who are listening to you here are predominantly young like you, but also some of them are older, right? So you're getting a coalition of people.
Yeah, I'm really quite optimistic for a lot of people they can involve in this civil disobedience.
But China, the government in China will never allow your kind of reform to go ahead. And they've said very clearly, actually, you have to go home.
In every social movement, no one will believe that finally the result, finally we can win. In the movement of anti-Article 23 and anti-national education, Hong Kong people win. I hope this is the 3rd time for us to get back our own rights.
And why has it taken Hong Kong so long? Why weren't there people doing this 15 years ago, or just after the handover from Britain to China? Why has it taken so long for so many people to come out on the street?
Actually, we need to change the people mindset to accept the civil disobedience. It's not easy for us to express this idea. But I think from 3 or 4 years before I've organized different movement, till now we know that secondary school student and university student and every people in every generation, they will stand in the street.
So this is not just about students here?
Yeah, I think this is not only a student movement, this is a movement for every citizen that live in Hong Kong.
Are you afraid that Beijing might bring in the tanks or the troops?
I don't believe it, because I think in Hong Kong, an international city, actually a lot of media from different countries will give the pressure to CCP.
But there was a lot of international media during Tiananmen Square, and they still went ahead with the massacre.
I think actually after 25 years, they don't want to receive a really serious burden from other international NGO or organization at all.
Is that also because Hong Kong is such a global financial center that if they were to crack down here, it would have massive repercussions for the world economy?
Actually, for a lot of people who are pro-Beijing, or even who are the party members in Communist Party of China, they also need to rely on the global financial center, which means Hong Kong, to help them to generate more capital.
Are you afraid when you do this? Are you afraid that you might get arrested again because you've already spent a day or 2 in jail?
I don't. Actually, I believe that sometimes later I will be arrested again. But I believe that Hong Kong still have justice, and people will support me, because although I violate the law, but people know that I'm fighting for justice. Yeah.
Well, we'll have more from Matt Frei in Hong Kong tomorrow. A big day tomorrow, Chinese National Day. But for now, we'll have a look at the rest of the day's news.